Hi, and welcome to New Connection Radio. I'm your host, MJ Schwader. Today we're going to be speaking with Simon Chokoitsky, author of the new book, Sex, Love, and Dharma, Ancient Wisdom for Modern Relationships, published by Inner Traditions Publishing. Simon teaches Sanskrit and medical astrology at the Ayurvedic Institute in Albuquerque, New Mexico. He also runs a private consulting business based on his trainings in Vedic life mapping and Vedic astrology. The author of the 5 Dharma Types and creator of the Decoding Your Life Map with Vedic Astrology DVD series, he travels widely giving seminars. And Simon, welcome to New Connection Radio.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Appreciate it. Well, we're just going to dive into it. Your book is full of great information. I'm really excited to read more. One of the things that's always been kind of confusing to me, and I think to other people, is what exactly is Dharma, and how is it different from karma?
Yeah, well, we all know what karma, or we have an idea of what karma is, but very few of us know what this word dharma is. And dharma simply means living in accordance with your purpose, with the reason you're here. And the basic idea is, why try to be someone else when it's hard enough to be yourself? As the saying goes, when you do your dharma, you erase karma, meaning that when you live the life you're supposed to live and live according to nature, eat the things that your body wants you to eat, do the job that you're supposed to have, then things sort of line up for you, and relationships line up for you, and prosperity lines up for you. Whereas when you fight and struggle against your dharma, your purpose, or if you just don't know what it is, things become more random and more difficult, and prosperity is more difficult, and health is more difficult, and relationships become more difficult. And I say at the beginning of the book, I say the title of this book is Sex, Love, and Dharma, but really it should be Dharma first, and then everything else. Because when that's in line, when you're in line with yourself and true to yourself, then everything else lines up accordingly.
So, and you also talk in the book about a Dharma type, and you have a full book about that, but you bring those Dharma types into this book, and then you relate those to the different areas of life. So what do you mean when you talk about a Dharma type?
Right. Well, so that's the actual technology of helping you find your purpose. So it's nice for me to say, live your purpose in this world, and everything will be okay. But that's a 2-page book. and the next question is, okay, well, how do I do that? So the Dharma types are a technology, and what they do is they access the software inside each of us, which says that each of us is born with an OS, like an operating system, and regardless of the color of the computer, the size, the manufacture date, regardless of age or customs or where it was built, it's the software that drives it. So an educator is the same whether they were born in India or in Indiana. They're the same, meaning that they have a similar dharma, a similar purpose in life. And the Dharma types are all about getting the best potential out of you so that you could succeed not only in the metric, in the social metric of, having a good job and, making money, but also in the personal metric, in your relationships with your loved ones, your relationship with the divine, your spiritual life as well. Because, in India, and this is why I respect this tradition, they say to be a balanced human being, you have to have good relationships on all of these tiers, on all of these levels. And if one of them is working but the others are not, then you're not a healthy human being, regardless of how well you're doing in one area. Does that make sense?
Totally. Mm-hmm. So you have 5 different types of Dharma types, I should say. What area is affected by each? Can you just briefly say what the type is and then what area is affected?
Yeah. So there are 5 types, so we'll start. There's the warrior type, and the warrior has a certain dharma, a certain purpose in this world, which is to solve problems, to protect others, to protect those who can't protect themselves. whether you're a house mom or dad taking care of the kids, or you're fighting for Greenpeace in the middle of the ocean. There's a specific purpose for the warrior, which is to protect those which cannot protect themselves. And then there's the educator type, whose dharma, whose purpose in life is to give wisdom. And whether you're driving a cab or lecturing at Harvard, you can't help but do that. See, dharma is the thing that you can't help but do, regardless of what situation you're in. So when you say which area of life is affected, really it affects every area of your life. You know, when you go to church, if you're an educator, you like to read the scripture because you like the information. You're information-based. If you're a warrior, you like the penance aspect. You like, sitting and doing the work, so to speak. And then the other Dharma types have a different approach. So the Dharma type affects every area of your life. How it affects that is what each person has to learn. And I'll go through the other types. There's the merchant type as well. The merchant's job, their dharma, is to bring joy and laughter into the world, to make social interactions easier for human beings. And I talk about that at length in the book. Then there's the laborer type, whose dharma is to serve, to offer their strength and service to the world. And then finally the outsider, whose dharma is to innovate, to create something new, to blend the things that already exist into something new. And I give the example in my seminars, understanding your Dharma type is a lot like understanding whether you're male or female. Imagine yourself waking up one day and not knowing your gender. I mean, these are just two archetypes, male, female. But imagine all of the choices that become very difficult, like which bathroom do I use at the restaurant, or, how do I walk, talk, dress, and so on. Understanding that archetype helps make a lot of day-to-day decisions easier. And the same thing with the Dharma type. Once you know your Dharma type, things become a lot simpler. A lot of decisions that we agonize over become, oh, I'm an educator, right, okay, so this is what I need to do.
So basically, really, you're aligning with your true self and your purpose in life by using these types. Bingo. You can zero in on it and identify it.
It's not just knowing your type. I know my type, and I still get it wrong so often.
Right.
It's not a magic bullet, but it is a tool, a very powerful tool. It is understanding the software that you're born with, and how you choose to use it is still up to you. There's still free will, and you still have to do the work. But,
and you have a section in there about that, about destiny and free will. And how does Dharma impact that? I mean, you said something about making a choice in the moment, and that affects your future. I believe there's something to that effect.
Well, we absolutely will always have choice. However, our choices are limited. The moment we are born, our choices are limited. So I'm born in a male body. That limits a lot of the choices I have. I'm born as an American citizen. That limits a lot of the choices I have by virtue of me not speaking Swahili, or having been born in the mountains of the Alps. Just by virtue of having a human body, you're restricted to a certain subset of choices. And that doesn't mean we still don't have freedom to exercise free will within that subset, but we are born into limitation. And what the Dharma type does is it tells you what your best choices are for any given situation. It says, okay, you can do X, Y, and Z, but X produces the best outcome. And then you can still choose whatever you want.
So just really excellent information in the book. I really enjoyed reading it. Now, circling back to the Dharma Karma, as you live your life, I don't know how you say this, the correct Dharma, or you're living fully in your Dharma. Maybe that's the way to say it. How does that affect your karma in the next lifetime?
Wow, what a great question. In the Bhagavad Gita, which is one of the holiest texts in the Vedic tradition, Krishna says, do your dharma and leave the rest to me. Meaning, do your dharma and then don't worry about your karma because it's all taken care of. That's speaking from a very high level, and it's true. It's ultimately true. But how does it affect our karma in the next level? If you've ever seen one of these Coen Brothers movies where the protagonist makes a little mistake, and then that little mistake compounds, and it creates a whole bunch of other problems, and then usually people die, and all kinds of havoc ensues. That's adharma, the opposite of dharma. When you're just vibrating wrong, and you're at the wrong place at the wrong time, and just bad things happen. By aligning with dharma, your purpose, your own software, your Dharma type, you make sure that doesn't happen. It's like slipping between the raindrops of the karmic deluge, and you just kind of make it home dry. Does that make sense? Or?
That's a great metaphor. I love that. I love that, actually. Yeah, that totally makes sense. That's perfect. That's a great way to end on the interview too, as well. What I want you to do is, can you share with listeners how to purchase your book and how to find out more about you and your work?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, it's available everywhere good books are sold, Barnes & Noble, Amazon.com. If your local store doesn't have it, they can order it, and I certainly encourage you to order it. And I will be doing seminars in the coming year. My schedule isn't set up yet, but I do give talks and book signings on the West Coast. We'll be starting here. And that'll be up on my site, which is spirittype.com, spirittype.com.
Excellent. Well, Simon, thank you so much for joining me on New Connection Radio today. I really appreciate you taking the time to join me. It's been really fun. I wish we had more time to talk, because I think we could do that for a long time.
My pleasure. I love it. Thank you for having me.
And thank you to our listeners for joining us on New Connection Radio. I'm your host, MJ Schwader, and I look forward to our next time together.